everybody, welcome to my channel. You're watching Ketosis Focus. I'm Lydia and I'm going to tell you all about how I got started on keto. Stick around. I've been on my keto journey for 10 months successfully. This is the third time that I've tried keto, and I'm going to tell you how I got started doing keto. I have now lost 65 pounds in the past 10 months. I'm around the midpoint of my weight loss journey. I still want to lose 50 more pounds to get to my goal weight. So what is a ketogenic diet, or what is a ketogenic lifestyle? Ketosis is the state where your body is burning fat for fuel instead of the carbs that you're intaking. So when you cut out sugar, carbs, refined, processed food, then your body is now running on the fat that you have stored. So that's how you're able to lose weight. So it's very similar to the Atkins diet. I had started the Atkins diet in my late 20s, early 30s, and I had done pretty well when doing that. All it was lowering your carb intake, low sugar, and your carb intake under 20 net carbs per day. So the keto lifestyle is very similar, where you have 20 net carbs or less per day, but the difference was the macros. So macros are your macronutrients that you need. It's what you eat for the day. So it's made up of carbs, protein, and fat. With the keto diet, it's 70% fat, 25% protein, and 5% carbs. And there's many ways that you could do your macros and figure out your macros. There's a macro calculator. If you do a Google search for macro calculator, you'll be able to input your height, your age, your weight, your activity level, and it'll give you your macros if you're trying to do a ketogenic lifestyle change. And it'll give you a 70-25-5. One of the big apps that I use is the Carb Manager app. It's a free app. I'm able to input my numbers in there and it gives me my macros. First, let me start off by saying there are many ways to keto. See, I didn't know that. I always thought there was a right way and a wrong way. And if I did it right, I'll be successful. And if I screwed up, then I'll fail. And so I've realized in starting and stopping and starting and stopping and my failures previously to this, that there are many ways to keto. You just have to find what is right for you. Now, when you're in ketosis, it's different for everybody. So some people may be able to eat less than 20 net carbs and still be in ketosis. Other people can probably eat less than 50 net carbs and still be in ketosis. So it's completely different from everybody. For everybody, it is not a one size fits all kind of situation. So the first thing that you have to realize is what we've been taught our entire lives about diet is completely flipped on its head when you're doing keto. Before, I used to follow a low-fat diet where I would count how much fat everything was in, and I made sure that I was as low as possible with my skim milk and my Special K cereals and salads with super fat-free dressing. Well, when you're doing keto, it's completely flipped upside down. So fat is not the enemy, sugar is now the enemy. So when doing your keto diet, you want to eliminate all sugar from your diet completely. And it's crazy on how many hidden sugars are in certain things that you had no clue, like seasonings or condiments. So it's now important when you're doing the keto diet to flip those packages over and to read the ingredients of some of those things. In my opinion, the best way to do keto is to keep it simple. You know how they tell you to shop the perimeters of the grocery store? So if you do your vegetables, if you do your meats or the protein section, and maybe dairy, if you're doing well with dairy, then that is basically all that you need to incorporate into your diet. Now, the good fats. Good fats are avocados, avocado oil, olive oil, coconut oil, ghee, all of these things, grass-fed, grass-finished butter like Kerrygold butter. All of these things you want to incorporate into your diet when you're doing the ketogenic lifestyle. The bad fats like canola oil, vegetable oil, margarine, things like that, in addition to sugar and refined carbs, that's what you want to do away with in your diet. So in the beginning, when I first started doing keto, I was tracking everything in an app called Carb Manager. I would put down everything that I was eating and it would tell me what my macros were for the day. The problem with that was I was going by the percentages. It can be very, very confusing because one group of people will tell you track everything. It's a calorie deficit. Make sure you're at a 35% a calorie deficit in order to lose weight. The other one says calories don't matter. You eat ketogenic foods and you'll still lose weight. And then some people will say macros are super important. 70% needs to be fat. 25% needs to be protein. 5% should be carbs, 20 grams less throughout your day. So it was really confusing in the beginning for me. But when you input everything into this app, it'll tell you what your day is like. Now, one of the common things that I have heard when you start keto is you want to hit your protein. So let's say you have 79 grams of protein a day. You want to hit your protein. You want to make sure you have enough protein. Now, the hard part to understand is you can actually go overboard on your protein and have too much protein in a day to where it might start converting into sugar and your body breaks it down as sugar. Fat, I've been told, is more of a lever. It's supposed to help keep you full. So if you add fat to your meals, then you'll stay fuller longer and you'll end up eating less throughout your day. So before I started my keto diet, I immersed myself in all things in the keto world. I watched YouTube videos, I researched on the internet, I was listening to books on tape, and one of the things that I did differently on my third time around, thanks to my keto coach, Brian, is he told me to check out Dr. Jason Fung's book, The Obesity Code. So some keto snacks that I have whenever I get hungry and it's not time to eat a meal is I will snack on nuts, but certain types of nuts like almonds, macadamia nuts. I will have pork rinds, sometimes with some hot sauce on it. Celery stick with some almond butter, but very little because those calories can add up fast with those nuts and almond butters. Sometimes I'll just have a cheese stick. Sometimes I'll have some boiled eggs on hand and just eat a boiled egg as a snack if I really want that. For me, I get really obsessive about numbers. And when I first started my keto journey, it was really hard for me to understand, am I supposed to be looking at the percentages or am I supposed to be looking at the numbers? Because in my macros, it might say I need 79 grams of protein, but sometimes I'll only have 50. But my macros are fine for the day. And then the other flip side is if I only need 79 grams of protein and I have 150 grams of protein, but my percentages are good for the day. So I wasn't sure what number I was supposed to look at. I was really confused in the beginning. I was very frustrated in the beginning, which also led me to give up on the diet after 3 months. Those first 3 months I lost 30 pounds, but I was frustrated and confused that I gave up. When I started doing it again with a keto coach, he helped me realize that you already know what you're supposed to do. You already know that there are hidden carbs. You already know how many carbs are in everything because you've done it before. You tracked everything. You inputted stuff. So you already know the numbers on some of these foods. So now eat what you like. Don't eat what you don't like. And eat when you're hungry. Don't eat when you're not. And this time he said don't track, because if tracking gives you anxiety, if it stresses you out to the point where you want to give up and throw in the towel, then tracking is not for you. You're not going to be successful with tracking. And since I had done it twice before and it didn't work, I went ahead and tried it this way. This was my last ditch effort because I was ready to do 3 times a charm. If it wasn't going to work this time, then forget it. I'll have to figure out something else. So this time when I started doing it, I made sure not to track, but I was conscious of the carbs that I was putting in my body. I also started learning that instead of making yourself do intermittent fasting and then being hungry within those 8 hours, it was best to let your body naturally go into intermittent fasting. So if you become fat adapted, you already got your body burning fat for fuel, then you're no longer as hungry as you were before you did keto. So I let myself naturally go into intermittent fasting. I let myself naturally go to 1 meal a day. Sometimes 1 meal is all I needed. And so then I realized my body is already in a fat burning mode because I'm not as hungry as I used to be, and I can get away with eating 1 meal a day and not be starving for another meal. So naturally my body kind of adapted to it. Now, one of the things that I absolutely loved when I began my keto journey from the very beginning and also this last time that I restarted it was bulletproof coffee. I loved bulletproof coffee because I made it with a tablespoon of raw cacao. I'd put a squirt of my liquid stevia in there. I would put MCT oil. I would put a tablespoon of ghee, and I would blend it all up with some heavy whipping cream. And it was so decadent. It was a fatty coffee, and it kept me full all the way until I was to have my meal later on that day. Now, some people like to do bulletproof coffees and it take the place of a meal, and other people rather eat their calories. I preferred to have this chocolatey, decadent mocha type of coffee as my meal replacement. It did wonders for me in the beginning, and it got me into a fat burning state. Now, I don't do bulletproof coffees so much because now that I'm fat adapted, I want my body to burn the existing fat that I already have and not so much the fat that I am intaking so much. So my typical breakfast, if I'm not going to do a bulletproof coffee and if I'm eating more than one meal a day, is I'll have eggs and bacon with cheese and avocado. Or I'll have a steak with scrambled eggs on top with cheese, avocado, and salsa or something. Chorizo and egg in a bowl with cheese. These are all typical breakfasts that I may have. Right now, breakfast has been replaced with a coffee with collagen in it, and that's taken the place of my breakfast. A typical meal would be a piece of protein, whether it be chicken thighs, chicken breast, a pork chop, a steak, and some type of vegetable, roasted broccoli, Brussels sprouts cooked in bacon, a cauliflower casserole, like a mashed cauliflower casserole. So those things became my staples. And once I realized what works for me and I know the macros loosely generally for that meal, then I know I can have it each time and still love it. So in the beginning, when I first started keto, I did have 2 meals a day, and now I've kind of gone into the 1 meal a day. This whole month, I am experimenting with intermittent fasting Monday through Friday, or actually intermittent fasting, and then eating 1 meal a day Monday through Friday, and easing up on the weekends to have 2 meals if I feel so inclined. I want to see what my results are for that change in my diet, and then if I need to make other changes, that I will. But that's how I got started. Do your research. It's only going to help you. I'm not an expert in this field. I'm on my own journey. I'm figuring it out. I'm a work in progress. So if you have any tips, if you have tried something that's been successful for you, if you want to share how you got started on keto, please leave a comment, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.